Hi Shanto,
Hi, Shagun. Hi.
and to
It's
all you wonderful listeners out there, we hope you're all having a great day. And if not, we promise it's gonna get better. My name is Shagun, and I'll be your host for today. Welcome to our first ever virtual book launch webinar by Mithas Services. For those of you who may be unaware, Mithas Services is not just your regular publishing house. It's India's favorite one-stop destination for almost all content-specific services, ranging from creative writing, content marketing, book editing, designing to mentorship, review, and much, much more. And it would be impossible to even talk about success of this company without mentioning the brainchild behind it all, the lovely Devanshi Sharma, who is a prodigy herself. All right, so now jumping to this beautiful book that you see in my hand right now. It's called The Night When the Books Float, and it's written by none other than Mr. Shanto Goswami, who's here with us today. Hi, Shanto.
hi, and it's a pleasure to be here.
It's an absolute pleasure to host this amazing event. Also, guys, if you're a regular attendee of his workshops, you know that this man needs no introduction in terms of his work or talent. But if you're new, then let me tell you that this multi-talented personality is a full-time writer, author of two brilliant novels, Land of the Lonely and Not God's Way, which have won millions of hearts. He is also a mentor and has taken countless writing workshops for more than 100 aspiring writers by now, including myself. And in his free time, however, he loves pulling pranks on his innocent friends, attempts to cook something in the kitchen that sadly always ends disastrously, and can go hours talking to anyone about anything in the entire world. That's just how fun this guy is. So, so now, without any further ado, let's welcome the author himself. Hello,
Thank you so
Shianto.
much. Hello, and yeah, great pleasure to be here. And actually, for the first time interacting with you on a one-on-one level.
Yes, yes. That's. I'm so looking forward to it. So, on a scale of 1 to 10, how excited are you today? Honestly.
150. Like,
That's great. That's great. As a man. So, Shanto, first and foremost, I just want to tell you that I completely fell in love with your book of short stories. And the reason why I'm emphasizing it so much is that, honest confession, as a reader, I don't generally buy books with short stories. Partly because I feel it's very difficult to keep your reader hooked when you're creating so many multitudinal situations in their mind. Sometimes that gets very overwhelming for a reader, and I don't know about others, but when I finish reading one story, I tend to distance myself and think about it a little, feel every emotion, and then move on to another one, right? It's almost like visiting one friend at a time or being in one character's soul at a time, right? And that's why I still have so many pending novels of, world's greatest 100 short stories or best Urdu stories pending in my bookshelf right now. But this, I have to confess, I literally finished this in less than 6 hours, and that's what makes it so special because I think the way you've kept the flow of the stories and the tonality so effortless, for us to immerse in. I think it's truly commendable, and I think that's why
thank you
the
so
name
much.
of the book makes so much more sense. I think more than the books, I think we will feel as though we're floating through your world of imagination. It's
Uh,
that deep.
that that means so much. That means so much. Thank you for such a lovely compliment.
Tell me, how was your overall experience of writing these short stories?
Overall experience, yeah, it was great. Actually, I have not written all of these short stories keeping this collection in mind. Some of them are kind of old that I've written like in 2018 or 2019, and some of them I have written exclusively for this book collection because if beforehand we did not know that I'm coming up with a short story collection. This is
Oh,
not this is something that we did kind of impromptu. That let's do a collection of short stories because my other novel was taking a bit of time.
oh, okay. You're already working on some other novel right now.
Yeah, I'm working on, but it's going really slow, so it probably take a lot of time for now.
Okay, so
So
how was?
that is, yeah,
Tell me, no, no,
yeah. So
go on.
that was why we figured out okay, let's do a short story collection since I have already written some short stories, and I really love reading short stories. So Devanshi, that's when she proposed that let's do a short story collection, and so I kind of kind of scoured through my laptop and found some of the short stories, and then I figured that let's write some other short stories as well to include in that, so that there are more of them. Because only publishing like 4 or 5 short stories does not really make sense. So
Correct.
that is why I came up with all the other short stories and wrote them one by one. And it was like coming home, because I started with short stories and I really loved the form, because in this one you can really experiment so much within a short amount of time and length as well. So that's why I really had a really fun time, writing these stories. And then, now it's a book and out for readers as well. So now it's their book. My job is done already.
Right. And how different was it from writing your last two novels in comparison? Like, was it easier or was it a little tougher?
Well, there are two ways actually. Novels that have, written, like be it Land of the Lonely, they were like hardcore psychological thrillers. There were those elements like the thrill or the psychologies of the people, etc. But in this short story, there are a lot of themes that I have tried, incorporating, and that was a fun part, because I get to do a lot of things. As you know, I can become a talking tiger, I can become something else, etc. And I can make books float. So those were the really really fun parts. And in the terms of, like, the difficulty part, I would say the difficulty that always comes to the short story is that you need to be extremely crisp about every line, every word, even then, because you do not get that much room, that it's only 7.5K words max. So that was something. In a novel you can really, you have that space to actually, mess up a bit and then, figure out again. But in a short story you do not have that space. So that was the one difficulty, although I would not really call it difficulty, because I feel writing of all things should be fun, and I enjoy those difficulties. Even I really love that. So yeah, that's, I guess, the difference, or if
Right.
you like to say it.
Right. And that's it. I think that's what my next question was also going to be. That when you're compiling a book of short story, what exactly is the writing process that you go through, while creating multiple characters or plots? Like do you also like take it one day at a time, just fully immersing yourself, in a character's soul and writing on it? Or sometimes, two or three stories run parallelly in your mind. Like, how do you compartmentalize while writing short stories for a novel, I would say?
Well, for a novel, it's like more of a long-term commitment, because you have to sit down with it like for a month, for a few months, or maybe even years, and then come up with it. So it becomes more of the perseverance and determination with getting to know some of them. Maybe it's like in a relationship that you are in a relationship and getting to know them better. On the other hand, short stories for me, it's like it can be like a crush on a train journey, like that's really short story by Ruskin Bond, The Eyes Have It. You just have a crush, or maybe the Night Train at the Oliver Asking one as well. You just have a crush, but you have to move forward. And about plotting them, I do not plot anything. Even in novels or in short stories, I'm a total pantser. I just start with something, a what if question, or an event, or a scenario, or a maybe theme. And through that, I just keep on writing, and I just let my characters guide me. And it sound, who are not writers, it might sound really weird that how can a character guide you? He's not even a person.
Yeah.
But for writers, I think understand that, I just let my characters guide you, because I have tried plotting. I would not say I haven't tried it, but it completely blocks the writing for me. I cannot write a single thing if I plot things down.
So you don't structure everything in advance. You start writing and then it just goes with the flow.
Yeah, I just start with the simple like theme or what if question or an event, and then I don't structure anything at all. I do not even know what's going to happen, what is the ending, everything. I don't even know what the next line is. So I just go with the flow, and it just happens.
So you don't restrict yourself like with just one particular scene. You just let the character take you
Yeah,
wherever it's going.
exactly. Sometimes I do have an idea that maybe this is going to happen, but most of the times it does not happen. So I don't know, cat owner, I have that
That's
kind of
great.
feeling of getting and not getting the attention I want from my characters
That's
and
true.
my
That's
cats.
true. And I think when you're just restricting yourself, you're also restricting your imagination. You get
Right.
stuck on just one particular element, which I think as a writer, it's not fair. Because when you're a writer, there are a billion things going on in your mind. So it's not fair for your imagination to just stay stuck in one particular place. I agree.
Yeah, I believe that too. Obviously, there are writers who plot everything and have a
Yeah.
proper outline and all.
Yeah.
And I respect that. I totally respect that.
Yeah.
But the
Yeah.
point is, for me, it does not work. For me, if I do that, my writing completely gets stuck. Completely gets stuck. I cannot write a single word. It becomes a science project for me. That 2 plus 2 becomes
Yeah.
4. That there is no fun for me in that.
That's true. And this reminds me of a very wonderful passage that you mentioned right in the beginning that I'll be, reading it out for our listeners.
Sure.
Um, Short stories for me are like an open window of a house. As I walk down the road, I can spot it and take a peek inside. Perhaps I would see a couple lost in each other's loving gaze, an old man lying in bed watching TV, or a kid discovering with all the astonishment in the world how beautiful a canvas the wall makes. I cannot afford to stop, though, as it would be indecent to stare for a long time. Windows and short stories, therefore, are like a portal to an unseen world at which I can steal a glance but never enter. Oh God, this is so powerful, Sham. So I think it just speaks for itself. And so I just wanted to ask you, when did your love for short stories like officially begin? As a reader or a
Uh,
writer?
as a reader, it was there since childhood. I mean, since childhood, I was an avid reader. In fact, till the time I was in college, even when I was in college, I used to read even when I'm eating. There will be a book open on, and I would not even look at the food. I would just grab that, and so I did not even know half the time that what I was eating. So that went on. Writer, as I said, that as you probably know, others might not, but you probably know that I started writing in 2017, and obviously with a short story. And from then on, the love for writing short stories began. Reading, it was there. Also, I would like to talk about the passage you just read. It is actually a very personal you can say personal kind of realization, because I really am in love. I don't know why. I am really in love with open windows. Like I go on daily walks every night, every
Yeah,
afternoon. Sorry,
yeah,
every evening. I'm completely missing the timeline.
yeah.
Every evening, and I don't know why I keep on stealing a peek from the open windows of the houses, or maybe the
Oh,
balcony of a flat or whatever it is. I really
right.
kind of feel fascinated by them. Like maybe I can see just a wall, or maybe I can someone is sitting there, or something else is happening just for a small glance. Obviously, I can't just stand there and look at it. That will be creepy. But I really, I don't know why I get a real fascination of looking through the windows and figuring out something, and then I can see something and then can imagine on myself. Actually, that is how Land of the Lonely also came in place, just by
Oh,
looking through window.
really?
Yeah,
Wow.
actually, yeah.
Now that's something that our listeners wouldn't have known before. Shanta Goswami loves staring through the window. So
Shagun
cute.
was like, "Thank God, I'm not in the same town as this."
Yeah, then you would have been marked as a stalk. No, I'm just kidding. I think that's very unique, and I think I completely understand, because I think as writers we tend to observe a little more. People around us. I think when I used to go to college, I used to have this really weird fascination for observing people in the metro. Also, like maybe a girl being on a phone texting her boyfriend, or a mother, just telling her small baby to stop crying, and probably slapping her. So I think as a writer, it's very important for you to have those observant skills, because that's how you curate stories in your mind later, right? When you observe, you can't create
Right,
stories if you're not a good observer, I would say. So yeah,
right,
that's
right.
that's nice. So do
Yes,
you remember?
actually, yeah.
No, no, please continue.
Actually, I was reading a Ruskin Bond interview a few days ago where he said that there are two types of writers. One is subjective writer, he also termed himself as a subjective writer as well. The writer who kind of draws inspiration from his real life around her,
Right.
every experience that he or she is having. On the other hand, there are some objective writers who mostly write from imagination. So
Yeah.
I guess I am also one subjective writer who kind of draws a lot of things from his surroundings and experiences, daily life experiences. So that I think, yeah, plays a lot of a role. And I'm so fascinated with observing. Actually, I once I have done a quite weird thing in this. I have actually followed an uncle on the road because
Oh.
his walking style was really unique. I was like, yeah, itna unique walking style मैंने पहले कभी नहीं देखा था. So I was like, let's go and observe for some time. I will include it in one of my stories. And
You
I
included him in one of the stories?
no, not yet. I have not
Acha.
included in any stories or
The
novels
uncle
yet.
is yet to be famous.
And I actually followed him for like 20 to 25 minutes, and that was a like 40-year-old uncle. My friends would be, yeah, 40-year-old uncle you're following.
Oh God. No, I think I completely agree. I think I'm looking forward to that story which has that unique uncle now. I'll be looking forward to it.
Hopefully someday.
Great, great. So do you remember your first ever short story that you ever read or maybe wrote?
Right. Read, so I definitely don't remember because that was so long ago and I was a kid.
Yeah.
One that I can remember is there was a book about a rhino who was basically a teacher of a village. So that was basically a kid's book. That rhino was a teacher of the village and he was teaching all of them, etc. And I had that book even when I was like kind of studying in class 12. I still had that book, and it was obviously torn to pieces, but I still had that. The name was in Bengali. The name was Gondar Pundit, means
Okay.
the teacher rhino.
Oh, okay.
So that was, I think, although that's one of them. Obviously, I cannot kind of specify that that was the first one.
Yeah.
The one that I first wrote was in 2017. It was a two-page short story. Actually, the first
Okay.
ever story I wrote, that was a short story. It was called Thousand Clouds Apart. And it was
Oh,
about me and a guy from USA, Chris Reeves. And obviously, my name and his name is not mentioned, but it was about us, how we became,
yeah.
how we met on Facebook, and how we became essentially like brothers.
Was
We
that
still
a
in,
true story?
yeah, kind of true story, but I just give it a fictional form.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Actually, that the idea is also given by Chris as well of that story. He just
Oh,
said, start writing short stories and write on this topic first. So that would, I would say, that topic was his, that idea was his. And if I would say my original idea short story, then it would be a second short story. It is called Alone Under the Pistachio Tree.
okay, okay.
It is about a kid on who lives in Syria, the war zone that is there.
Yeah.
And it about him and his family leaving Syria because of the war and to go someplace else, and whether they go or not or what happens. It's actually available online on Juggernaut writing platform, so
Oh,
anyone can
wow.
read it there.
I was just about to say that, where can we read your beautiful short story?
It was my short stories are in quite a few places. It's on Juggernaut. It was on Tell Me Your Story, but had to take down the story and include it in this short story collection as well.
Okay, okay, okay.
I have kind of, I think, 3 or 4 stories of myself on Juggernaut.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they are online available, and some of them are on different literary magazines.
Great, great. Please do give us the links, Shanta, because I think our
Sure,
listeners
sure.
would love to read your, because I think the first story that you've ever written, I think it always holds a very special place in your heart. You
Yes.
tend to never forget about it. And it really shows, your journey as a writer, like even today, if I go back, several years ago, the first story that I must have written, I would be like, wow, like that's how I used to write, and this is how I write now. It would be very different from, where I've come from. So yeah, I think I would definitely want to read your first.
So, what's your short story? I would love to read it as well.
My first ever short story.
Yep.
I think you read it. I think it was a love story based on that prom.
Right. I have read
That
it.
wasn't my first ever short story that I've written, I would say, but it was my first short story, but I just added that little prompt and sort of, mingled with the story a little bit just so it could fit the frame. So yeah, I think that would be my first ever short story.
Yeah, it was a really good one. It was really good.
Thank you. I think my first ever short story that I must have read was, I think, of Roald Dahl, Lamb to the Slaughter.
Okay.
I think that was in class. It's very funny. I think I must have been in class 6 or 7, and I remember coming back home, okay, and telling my mom about it. Do you remember the story, Lamb to the Slaughter? Have you read it?
No, I have not read it.
Okay, so basically, it's a I don't know if I should. I think everybody would know. So it's basically a story in which the woman finds out that the husband is cheating on her, and she's pregnant, so she decides to murder him. So
Okay.
I remember coming back home and I was like, Mom, this woman is my inspiration. I would have done the exact same thing if my husband was doing this. And that was my first indication to my parents that I'm over your child. Don't mess with this kid for a while. So yeah, I think that's my first ever short story that I've read.
Might end up like a lamb.
Sorry?
If someone messes with you, might end up like a lamb in a slaughterhouse.
Oh yeah, I would slaughter that person like that. Okay, no, I would. I think people would just go away from this video as soon as I say it. Right. So I think, so while reading your stories, Shanto, I've noticed like a slightly recurrent theme, which is of love, and more specifically unrequited love, and unfulfilled promises. Well, I think it's very coincidental, but I always believe that a good short story is like that, like just that exactly what you mentioned, in the beginning, that a good short story is like that first love, or that unfulfilled love, because you know that you're sad that it ended, but you're also equally understandable of the fact that it happened for the best, and you don't have any
Right.
regrets because that story or that love did change you somehow in one way or another, right? And I think that's what really makes you want to go ahead and read another story or fall in love again, right? So tell me, why do you love exploring this particular theme of romance so much in your stories?
Oh, well, I'm do not really concern myself with romance because, or any other kind of genre as per se. Because for me, I believe genre is kind of a marketing term that we use to actually sort the books out, and the bookstores will have a good time, sorting them in different places, or the online stores will also have a good time. Let's promote this to this kind of audience, or even publishing houses will have that benefit that we can promote this kind of to this kind of audience, etc. Me as a both as a reader and as a writer, I do not really care about the genre. I don't really care about the genre. I just care about the story and the characters. If they kind of involve me, if they engage me, then I go along with it. And even the story that we're talking about, the unrequited loved ones, they are never born out of that I want to write an unrequited love theme or anything. They kind of they're kind of born from a totally different aspect. For example, I'll give you an example. The first story in the book, After a River.
Yeah.
So what happened was I was watching a interview by Satyajit Ray, the famous filmmaker.
Okay.
So he said that he was really inspired by a movie called 12 Angry Men, which is a great movie. I've seen that. And so he said that what fascinated him was that the entire movie was in a closed setting, just one room and 12 people sitting inside that room. Okay, so and from there, he also wanted to make one such movie where there will be just one closed setting and few characters and nothing else.
Okay.
So there will be no other distractions, no descriptions, no long shots, etc. So I kind of got kind of inspired by that. I said, let's try this on stories as well. Like I would like to do one story that there's this closed setting and there will be nothing else, no distractions, no descriptions of beautiful roads, this, that, or no other characters disturbing these two characters. So from then on, it's actually a real bus stop in Kalyani. From obviously in the story it isn't mentioned, but I wrote that particular scene, having that bus stop in mind. So that bus stop was also closed with the AC room, and there it's by it's closed out by glass. And I also added the rain so that you can't even see outside. The rain was specifically for that so that the reader cannot even see outside. There is nothing going on other than these two characters. So that's where it started. This particular story started. So it was never from any story. It wasn't from let's write and romance or let's write thriller. It just came out from a particular completely different aspect, and then it became what it became.
Right. Okay. So you don't really think of a particular theme and then go ahead writing the stories. You just start writing the story, and the theme sort of takes its form, you would say.
Most of the times it's situational. Even if I start with a theme, it's also in a situation based way.
Okay, that's nice. I think when I read or come across love story, I think one of the reasons why I don't tend to read them a lot in comparison to thrillers, and I think you know this because I'm a huge thriller and horror fanatic. I think it's because most of the romantic stories are very predictable. I would say, in a sense, it's like boy meets girl, they fall in love, they fight, they cry, but eventually they find each other, etc., etc. So I think what I really loved about your romance specific stories is that each of them are very different from the other. In fact, one of them even talks about a love story between a woman and a train, and that's so surprising. I mean, I'm so sorry for the spoiler, but there's this really beautiful quote that I just have to read out right now because it was honestly my favorite. Wait. Yeah. So, I wanted to scream and let the world know my love for her, but I couldn't. How could I? I was, after all, a train. An inanimate object expressing my feelings wasn't what I was designed for, and realizing emotions that were never uttered in words. Well, I guess humans weren't designed for that either, That really spoke, to me, because it's so true. Because even as humans, we often forget to express our love, or refuse to act upon it despite having the ability to do so, right? Which is such a shame. So how important, I would want to ask you, is the element of unpredictability in a romantic story for you? You know.
Well, and within a romance story, it can obviously it's some. For example, I will start with some other point, and it will make me a lot of enemies probably. That the Indian romance scenario, the Indian romance literature scenario, really, really disappoints me so much, because they are all over the top. In real
Yeah,
life, when you get, say, for example, in real life, when you broke up, you just don't, kind of pack your bags and go on a holiday. You don't have that luxury.
that's
We
true.
don't have the luxury. Even if you have a breakup, you have to go to the office next day.
I would
And
agree.
so
Yeah.
it kind of feels really unrealistic to me, the way they behave with each other. I have not seen a real life people behave ever like that,
Hmm.
or the way they do the stuff, etc. And it's really predictable. You won't know from the first
Or
line what
the
is going
way,
to happen.
sometimes people throw a party and call it a breakup party, or
Yeah, there's a
yeah.
breakup party, and there is all other stuff. In fact, I have even once written a kind of what to say rant kind of piece on my Instagram, saying that there are 10 things that are wrong with Indian romance novels.
Oh, no, no, I completely agree. Yeah,
So
there
I
is.
did not. I had really from the author that I have read. Obviously, they are. I believe there obviously are those writers who are really,
Correct,
really great at writing romances in
correct,
Indian
correct.
scenario as well.
Yeah.
But I have not
But
really
none that
at
you
all
have
found
read so far. Yeah, yeah,
none that I have read so far. In
yeah.
my case, again, I do not like show for like unpredictability. I would say what I really love to incorporate in my stories is subtlety. That there should not be something really over the top that is happening, like so much melodramatic, like a Bollywood script.
Correct, correct.
I really don't want that in my stories, no matter is it a thriller or romance or any other genre. I just want that subtlety and that that simplicity through which many writers really describe things. For example, I've read a book called A Man Called Uwe by Frederick Backman.
Okay,
It was not really a romance novel, but the way that guy has described romance, it was brilliant. And the way that guy has really described heavy issues like death and suicide with such humor, that it has fascinated me really. Like for example, in the typical romance novel, you will see idea kind of sentences like since एक बार उसको देखता है तो फिर बरसात होने लगती है, ये होने लगता है, वो होने लगता है, etc. जो कि रियल लाइफ में कुछ होता नहीं है. But
yeah.
on that book, A Man Called Uwe, it has the writer has written that everyone said Uwe was a man of black and white, but his wife, that said, but she was color, all the color he had. So I have not read any
True.
more beautiful explanation of a
Correct,
romance than that.
correct,
So
correct.
I would like to, no, obviously I'm nowhere near that, but I would like to achieve that place someday, that I can actually explain that the bigger things in such simple words, and that actually
Right.
touches the heart and not just go over the top and being a filmy masala.
Right, right. So a romantic story doesn't necessarily have to be, very dramatic, in order to be a good story. It has to
Right.
be, it just has to be really real, so that strikes a chord with the heart of the reader, I would say. Because the more
Yeah,
real the story is, the more it's gonna affect the reader, I would say.
totally.
Right. So if you had to give one advice to somebody who's aspiring to be a romance novelist or short story writer, what would that be?
Well, romance novel particularly, I don't think I'm qualified enough to do that because I have not written any romance novels or know much of the genre.
Just don't
As a
say that go get your heart broken or watch
no,
Bollywood
that's
Shah Rukh Khan feed movies, because that's not
no,
gonna
that's not
happen.
necessary. And please, one-sided love is not really a good thing to do. It's a toxic thing. Go out of that phase. Like it's not like the best दुनिया की सबसे अच्छी thing होती है, नहीं होती है.
I think that is one concept that Bollywood has really glorified, that ek
Yes,
tarafha pyar and stuff. So
yes, and stalking the girl is not really the way to woo her, essentially, or like kind of cramming her inside the dicky of a car or the trunk of a car. That's not love.
God, can't believe Bollywood used to make such movies, but okay. Yeah,
So
so what
anyway,
would your advice be?
about the short story writer, I can say that first of all, read. In fact, for any kind of writing, I would say the best two things that you can do actually for yourself is read a lot. Like, and most of the writers that I get lots of DMs, I want to be writer, this, that. and they proudly then say that I do not read anything. I'm like, then you do not have the kind of
tools to
you
write well.
don't have that sensibility to actually write stories. So first of all, you need to read a lot, no matter it's a short story, novel, romance novel, whatever.
Yeah, and whichever genre you're interested in writing, you have to read.
Yeah, I would say just to read everything. From every genre you will find something. If you're like me, then don't read horror. You will be awake for 3 nights, but that's different.
Not in my case. I would read horrors day and night, any day, any night. But yeah, I agree.
Yeah. On the other hand, when you're starting to write a lot, because when you're starting out, you will write shit. Everyone has written. I have written some ridiculous story that I can look and cringe at, and so it happens. See, it's just a process, like everything. If you want to ride a bicycle, you need to practice it every day. Same for writing. If you want to write well, you have to write bad, and through that ridiculous writing will come and emerge a piece that is really, really good. So these two are the most basic, but the most unfollowed advice that any writer can give. I think that read a lot, write a lot. The rest will obviously come. There are obviously many workshops, many courses, etc. But the best knowledge I think you get is by reading and by writing. No instructor, no mentor, no one can give you that.
Absolutely. I completely agree. I just have to start executing this after this workshop.
Yes, please. I'm waiting for your stories as well.
Yeah. So another common theme that you have very seem to subtly yet beautifully embark on with your stories is of change. That there's so many things that are going wrong in this world. Which nobody seems to care about or talk enough about. And I think that's why by the end of so many of your stories, it really pushes the reader to sit and think about what can be done or what can be changed. Be it an issue of domestic abuse, child exploitation, or over dependency on mobile phones, or let's say even the topic of soulmates. I feel like you have a very different yet realistic take on it. Because when I read other stories, I've come across authors, write about it in a very glossed up sense, like we were discussing right now. But when I come across, some of your quotes, I was just like, wow, that's brutally honest. Like I read one thing from here.
Sure.
Yeah. So in one story, which is I saw the girl who had a black hole for a navel on a winter night, you mentioned, but it's a strange world we live in. They tell tales of soulmates, but don't believe in one. They care more about being civil than listening to the universe. That again speaks so much, Anto. And then another one. Sorry guys, this is my favorite. I'm just fangirling over this novel right now. So yeah, this is from a short story called Words Have Pointy Edges. So you've written, Kaushik would treat each of his girlfriends the way you would treat a movie you love. When you're watching it, you're fully immersed in it, figuring out every little detail. After it has ended, you talk about it endlessly for a few days. Then you find yourself a new movie to fall in love with. So tell me, when you're exploring such themes, which are so sensitive and questionable in nature, because not everybody would agree with, what someone's writing. So do you try to create like a fine balance between what you should write as a writer and what most of the readers will like to read? Or do you just write what you feel like writing, irrespective of how it may be interpreted by the reader?
Well, obviously I try not to, it's not my agenda to hurt anyone or just write something different for its sake. But I believe that if you want to please everyone or please everybody, writing is really not the job for you. Because whatever you write, even the biggest of writers, be it Murakami, be it Khaled Hosseini, be it anyone, everyone is a hater, and everyone, there are some people that don't like their work. But if I get by that, then everyone has a different taste, and then my stories will never be completed. Thinking about, okay, this line, but maybe Shakun would not like this line, maybe Devanshi wouldn't like this line, so let's skip that. Then I believe it does not make sense. So when I am writing, I just write whatever I want to write and whatever my characters are telling me that this happened, and then this happened. Afterwards, when I'm editing, again, my job is not to then change stuff for its sake or whatever. My job is on the subsequent drafts. My job is to just how to present this particular story, not changing the story, but just how to present the story in the most effective way to the readers, so that what I want to say gets across. Now, that's only a trying. I can only try so much. Then afterwards, whatever interpretations they make are completely their own, and I cannot control that. So yeah, mostly I would say that it's about what I want to say and what my more even more importantly than what I want to say, because I don't want to be sound preachy again that maybe this is the right thing to do or this is the wrong thing to do. My job,
putting your opinion across in a very subtle way.
Totally. My job is just this is my opinion, and this is what the characters did by not being judgmental. That this is what they did. Now it's up to you whether you think it's right, whether you think it's wrong. I cannot do anything about it. My book is done. Book is published. Now I don't know anything about it.
That's true. That's true. So also, I really wanted to ask as a writer and a reader. So, when you're writing an emotional or difficult scene, how do you set the mood? Like how do you get inside the head of your character, I would say?
Well, I believe that's a really lovely question, first of all. And I think whatever scene you are writing, whatever emotions you want to invoke in the reader, first you will have to feel that emotion. If you see that you are writing that scene, particularly whatever scene, that whatever emotion it is, and you are not actually feeling that emotion, then the reader will not feel that emotion particularly. And so I do take some measures sometimes. For example, in Land of the Lonely, I cannot give that much of a spoiler, but there is a really kind of a brutal scene that involves the protagonist's pet cat, whose name is Shadow. So Shadow is actually my cat's name as well, the cat that was in Kalyani. So I deliberately chose that name so that I can have that impact, so I can feel that pain of that being a cat owner. So that's why I kind of put her name on there on the story as well, so that I can actually feel that pain, and so that it comes through to the writing. Other than that, I'm kind of I try to become, it's sort of when I'm writing, it might sound weird, it feels like that I'm just standing on the side of the road and the thing is just happening right beside me. So that impact is quite that impact kind of, I guess, translates to the page, that because it's kind of like experiencing that thing yourself, or just being a bystander and watching it unfold through all you by all beside yourself.
Yeah. No, I think I completely agree. I think that sometimes happens with me also. When I'm writing the character with whom I wouldn't really connect, because I would have never done that. Sometimes I try to be in their shoes. I try to be empathetic in that sense, and then I think to myself, if I was a stalker or if I was a serial killer, what would I do next? In that sense, and that's when I start writing the story. It also prepares me, for the day when I do become a serial killer, maybe. But yeah.
Everyone who knows Shagun, please be aware. I am still in a different city, so I'm relatively safer.
Oh God. Yeah. No, I don't have any plans of becoming a serial killer. But no, because I love writing horror short stories, let's say. So I think that's why I really wanted to ask, because sometimes it gets very difficult for me to also, set that mood, for me to write in it. So yeah, I think that's a great advice. I think sometimes you can just, distance yourself sometimes and just objectively observe and understand, how things would unfold, around you if you were in that situation, and then write on it.
Yeah. Also, I feel like, no matter what kind of a story it is, the characters essentially want to make them human. And if you observe human beings around you, you will see they're deep down, they're all the same, all crave love, all crave attention, all have some insecurities and fears and all. So I think if you observe human beings, in my case as well, that my observation of human beings really makes it easier. So through that, I can, take one aspect of some real person, another aspect from another person, and make a new character completely. So I think that helps a lot.
Great. Also, there's another really beautiful quote in your book that says, if all was well all the time, how would there be a story? And, maybe that's the reason why a lot of writers, create stories or develop characters driven by their own personal experiences, like you said. Or sometimes, in a lot of cases, people even try to heal from their pain, by using a very healthy medium of expression, such as writing. So, would you consider writing a spiritual process in a way?
Yes, in many cases, when I started out writing, I was in a really bad place, like financially and all of that stuff. I had like 0 jobs, and I would whatever jobs I get, I would like resign within 3 days because I hated them. And then there was a time when one of my stories was got featured on the Scribbled Stories, the platform.
Okay.
And one of my micro tales got featured on that. And that time I was like really struggling financially. So that those moments of moments of happiness and moments of recognition will really give me a lot of peace. And actually, I believe throughout that phase that happened in life for 1 year, 2 year, whatever, that writing really got me through, because at the end of the day, I knew that I can go somewhere and become completely someone else and create a world of my own where I was the boss, I was the creator, I can create anything. And that would, although I would say I have not really like intentionally or in a very conscious way have done that writing became a spiritual process or anything, but yeah, I believe it certainly has become a refuge that where I can go and actually just detach from everything else and go to a place that is really, really peaceful.
Yeah, I think that's the magic of fiction. Sometimes it just all you want to do is just escape from the reality. Yeah. So
Yeah.
do you, sorry, please go on.
No, I did not say, I just
So I have this one question, so which I get a lot, So do you think someone could be a writer if they don't feel emotions very strongly? Like, because I've heard from a lot of, even authors that, in order to be a very good writer, you need to be able to, let yourself feel pain, because sometimes, you can use that pain to, maybe use it as like a medium of growth, or like, overcome it. So
I think I would. I have kind of a couple of opinions on this. Now, one opinion is kind of a misconception that goes on in social media nowadays, that in order to be a poet or in order to be a writer, you have to be heartbroken. You have to have a really depressing life. You do not go out and meet people. You just stay in your room and write and write and write
cry and feel sad
and cry. And you are always poor. I don't know why. So that is completely a wrong notion. I am a writer. I cannot live without people. And especially in this lockdown, kind of realize that no, इतना तो नहीं हो सकता, तो घर में रह के.
Like even for writers, this lockdown became very
much. In the start of the lockdown, we are all like, it's lockdown. I will write 10 books because there is nothing else to do. But there did not be one book even. So yeah, I personally, I obviously do want people. I cannot live without people, and as especially now that I'm a chatterbox, I can talk and talk and talk. So I cannot do that. That just go and sit somewhere and do nothing. That is, I would say, a false notion. And also, you do not have to go deliberately search for pain. That okay, there is not enough pain in my life. Let's bring it on and become a writer.
And then I can be a very good writer. Yeah.
Also, you have the level of like empathy or the sensibility should be higher than other people, because that's why we're writers, because we tend to see things from a different way or tend to feel things some other way. That should be there, that feeling or that aspect of personality should be there, but it does not have to be like go over the top and become someone really depressed or really sad or really anxious. That does not have to be the case.
True. And what are the challenges that one may face when they're writing about something that really disturbs them?
What are the fears? One thing is obviously that fear is always there when you are discussing something that really disturbs you.
Yeah.
Even for me, some topics that I wanted to discuss or have discussed, at first it was quite a tough job. I think the toughest job is to actually go there and sit your ass down to that chair and convincing yourself that you are going to write about it. Once you start writing, it still gets into the process, because then you are venting out, then it gets easier. But that initial phase, that acceptance that you are actually going to write about it, is I think the biggest challenge.
And how has your experience been personally, with writing about something that was influenced by an event or maybe a person in your life?
Almost all my stories are influenced by some events or personal life. So it kind of become like a second nature. I know that this will be influenced by something or the other.
Yeah. But in the beginning, was it a little tougher for you to?
Not really, because I was fictionalizing it. I did not really have a tough time. I had a fun time. उसके बारे में बोल रहा हूँ, देख तेरे को पता नहीं चल रहा है.
Yeah, I think we writers are very good at sneaking in characters from our own life, and people won't really understand those.
Yeah, I have kind of stem stories from a photograph, from a bench, from random lady I see. It happens.
Yeah, that's true. Nice.
It kind of comes with like a statutory warning. Everything you said can be used in a story. Everything I've seen can be used in a story.
Yeah, that's true. So among all the short stories, Shantu, that you've compiled in this beautiful book, which one is your personal favorite and why?
Uh,
I know it's like asking a mother
it's
or a
yeah.
father to choose one of their favorite babies. But no, seriously, like which one's your absolute favorite, would you say?
Uh, It's my absolute favorite. I can right now. There are two stories that are coming in mind. One
Okay.
is the title of the book. That is that story, "The Night When the Books Float."
Float.
That story was really really close to my heart because one is obviously it that setting. I love that setting.
Yeah.
That the books are flowing in the books are floating in the
Yeah.
air.
I wanted to be in that library, when I was reading about it. Yeah.
Yeah, I really loved that setting. That is what
Yeah.
so that was what, and this story actually, "The Night on the Books Float," is full of metaphors. Obviously, not many
Yeah.
will understand it
Yeah.
because I have not really deliberately come and say, "Okay, this
Correct.
stands for this stands for
Correct.
this."
Correct. Correct.
But personally, I know that there are a lot of metaphors, and this is this.
I observed.
The
Yeah.
boy, becomes another boy represents this. The girl represents this,
Yeah.
etc. And actually, I
Yeah.
had a detailed discussion with a writer friend about this, and
Yeah.
so obviously, I know what are the metaphors.
Correct. Correct.
And another one was a short story called "Freedom" that was there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was important because of two things. One was you will see there were a lot of sexually explicit content in that story. So for me, I
Mm-hmm.
have never written anything like that before. So I
Mm-hmm.
was really struggling to kind of balance it out, that when it becomes vulgar, when it stays into that zone.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, also sometimes I was thinking that, okay, readers will be thinking, is this too much for the reader to actually
Mm-hmm.
make it that much sexually explicit? And on the other hand, the first hand, when I started writing that story, I thought I would write a full-blown erotica.
Mm-hmm.
But later on, when I kind of wrote a few paragraphs, I felt like it's not going that well. That is why I kind of went back to that story and added those scenes in between, those flashback scenes. And
Yeah.
so that kind of inclusion of those scenes were a bit of or were a bit kind of close. That's why it's really, really close to my heart, these two stories. One is that because of the setting and the metaphor. On the other hand, because I was doing something completely new and then
Yeah.
including my own kind of style into that and kind of
Yeah.
impersonating it. That so I will say these two are the most favorites.
Great. So I was about to ask which story did you find most challenging to write, but I think you've answered that question in this way. It would be
Yeah,
Freedom, na?
freedom. Yeah, freedom. Yes, I would say.
Great. And which character? Okay, okay. So which character do you relate with the most from this
Relate with the most
collection,
from.
or any character that holds a very special place in your heart? Any of these two questions.
Many characters, quite a few characters really have a special place in my heart. Again, coming back to the Knights of the Books Floats, the two, the couple essentially, they have a really big space in my heart. In Freedom, obviously, yes. Words of Point Ages is actually written about a friend of mine. Kaushik was a real friend, not
Okay.
anymore, but she was a friend. And not
Yeah.
anymore in the sense he's not dead, he is alive, but he's not a friend anymore.
Right, right. Okay.
And
Okay.
yeah, these are, I would say, the most favorites.
I'll follow the short stories. Great, great,
Yeah.
great. So, what do you hope for your readers to take away from this book, Shanto?
First of all, I would like them to have a good time. That's my first and foremost intention. That they
Yeah,
must have a good time, and
yeah.
they should actually feel something about. I believe that every story should make you feel something. If they felt
True.
what I wanted to. Yes, the interpretation can be different. The metaphors, for example, the metaphors I've used in The Night When the Books Float, even if
Hmm.
they don't get it, or even if they make their own kind of metaphors in that story, that this maybe stands for this, that's completely fine. And that's the
Yeah,
beauty of fiction. You can
yeah.
interpret one thing in a million kind of
Million
ways.
ways. Yeah, yeah.
But the most thing I would like them is to have a good time and feel something about the stories. I think that's all.
That's true. That's so, even when I was giving my feedback, I was telling my friends about, this book, that why they need to read it. I was like, this is like a perfect winter book, I would say. Like, the kind of book that you can just, read before going to bed, with a hot chocolate and just snuggled up in your covers. It would just make you feel so good, when you finish reading this short story collection. So, yeah, I think
Thank
that's
you so
definitely,
much.
that
Thank you
will,
so much.
I think all our readers and listeners will
No, I
definitely
am
want to feel
floating.
that for sure. Great.
Now I'm floating with all the compliments.
You're floating on cloud 9. Great. So I think I'm sure our viewers will be super excited to read your short stories now that they've gotten access to so many things that went on in your mind while writing them. But before we end this little or not so little conversation of ours, I've prepared a small rapid fire, which basically includes a list of questions which you have to answer very quickly without thinking much. So that we get to know you, not just as an author but also as a person.
Right.
So, are you ready for Sangria with Shagun? Or in your case, slightly because Shanta doesn't drink. Another little fact about him that I discovered recently. So, are you ready, Shanta?
Yeah, definitely.
Great. So, the time starts now. Favorite writing spot?
My table. I only have one table, and I don't have much options.
Favorite time of the day or night when you enjoy writing?
Morning.
Favorite book as a kid?
If it was a kid, oh, that's tough. One funny story, I don't remember the name right now. There was a story about some uncle and their cousins.
Okay.
It's a Bengali short story, so you wouldn't really know.
Okay. Okay. So favorite book as an adult?
Favorite book as an adult. A Man Called Uwe. There are lots of books actually. A Man Called Uwe, The Remains of the Day, The Kite Runner, The Book Thief. I can name Harun and the Sea of Stories.
Oh.
Undertow is a good one, although I will not keep that level also. It's still a little bit down.
Great. Favorite author?
Again, a lot of one. Kazuo Ishiguro, Frederick Backman, Khaled Hussain.
Favorite literary character ever written?
Are baap ever written? Uwe.
Sorry?
Uwe from A Man Called Uwe.
Okay. Thriller or romance?
Thriller or romance? It can't be like a thrilling romance or something.
Sorry?
It can't be combined with two genres.
Combination? But if you had to choose just one, thriller or romance, what would you choose?
If there is too much gore, then romance. If it's too much over top, then thriller.
Okay. Writing or reading? What would you choose?
Are baap reading.
What is actually the intent of my rapid fire?
This is really tough. Reading or writing? I think I was reader first, so reading.
What is on top of your book bucket list right now?
Book bucket list right now. Reading something by Murakami because I have not really explored Murakami that much.
Okay. Paperback or Kindle?
Paperback. Kindle I can't handle.
Food.
Mutton biryani.
Favorite part of the day?
Almost everything. Morning and the evening because the daily walks.
Oh. Your cure to writing block?
Cure to writing block? Just sitting down and write or maybe deadlines.
If not writing, one profession you would most probably be in?
If not writing, then one?
Profession.
One profession. Book reviewer or maybe coach, like, mentoring people.
You already are that.
But
apart from all of this. Chalo, no writer, no editor, no mentor. Then what would you do?
Then what I'll do? Shit, yaar. फिर तो करने को कुछ बचा नहीं.
So as a writer or reader, I feel like sometimes we're like, यार और कोई talent ही नहीं यार हमारे पास.
Seriously.
और कुछ नहीं आता.
Book reviewer. Yep.
One piece of advice that you'd like to give to all your aspiring writers?
Read a lot, write a lot.
Great. Awesome. Thank you so much, Shanto, for taking out the time to answer so many of my questions.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolute pleasure getting to know you as an author and as a person.
Thank you so much.
And I hope our viewers enjoyed this little session of ours too. So any parting words, Shanto, before we close this?
Any parting words? Please keep reading stories and support the writers, obviously. But more than that, please keep reading stories. They really have a lot to offer you, and you would not really find anywhere else. So please keep reading stories. Paperback, Kindle, hardcover, does not matter. Whatever you feel like, keep on reading stories. And if you're a writer, keep on writing them. There will be an audience who will read it.
Right. Thank you so much, Shanto. So take care, everybody. Stay safe, stay happy, and like Shanto said, keep reading and writing as much as you can. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me.